Hi, my name is Jeremy Foley. I've been in healthcare recruitment for 14 years and wanted to put together a quick video. Recently, I received a message from a nurse practitioner student. She had reached out to me letting me know that she will be graduating in August of 2022 and was asking or seeking advice on how to find the first position, when to find the first position, and she also made the comment that there's a perception of almost an unfriendly nature or perspective on nurse practitioner students. So I wanted to put together just a short clip addressing these two items, meaning any type of unfriendliness in the market for new graduate nurse practitioners, as well as for nurse practitioner students. When is an appropriate time for you to start seeking for your first position? Uh, Again, after 14 years, I've had this conversation many times. First off, I want to start with the perception that employers are not friendly to new graduates or students. This is something that I've seen and has come up many times in my career, and it's really unfortunate because there's a bit of a misconception there. And I think it stems from the fact that oftentimes for new graduates and students, as they apply for their first practice opportunity, they are met with one of two reactions from employers. The first and most common reaction, of course, is, sorry, we really need somebody with more experience. And the second is the cold shoulder, basically meaning they're not getting any response or getting any traction on the market. So naturally, one would tend to believe that this is a negative feeling directed towards students and new graduates in the market, when in reality, it's something much different than that. And you have to take a step back and think about where these employers are coming from and why they're reacting the way they are. Now, before that, and with this disclaimer, like most things in life, nothing is absolute. There's always exceptions to the rule. There's always a gray area, if you will. But the reality is, students and new graduates are very, very valuable in the market. And oftentimes when we compare a new graduate or student to a experienced counterpart, some of the things that employers tell me that is advantageous about hiring new graduates or students is, one, they're fresh. They have an eagerness, they have a desire to learn and grow their skills, and they can be molded to fit a certain mission philosophy or practice style that is congruent with that particular organization. Another common response is, guess what? They don't have any bad habits. And unfortunately, we're all guilty of this no matter what our profession. We can develop bad habits, which may be difficult to break later on. I want to talk about the time frame as well. I'm going to go back at the end of this video and talk about the perception of students and new graduates, but let's move on to the time frame for those of you who may be busy and not have time for the full-fledged video. So again, if we look at it from the employer's perspective, oftentimes employers are hiring for one of two reasons. They're hiring because there's some type of loss or turnover in the position. Naturally, what that means is there's an immediate need for coverage, right? Patients are not being seen, and they need to get that resolved as quickly as possible. The other reason, of course, is for expansion or growth. Now, this could be because of an ability to tap existing market share. It could be the addition of a new service line or offering, or maybe it's just a restructuring of internal programs as they sit. So when we start to look at the why is an employer looking to make a hire, you have to understand there's a time frame. And when there's a need or immediacy to make a hire, if you're 6, 12, or 18 months from graduation, the employer might love who you are as a person and as a provider, but operationally, the timeframes just don't make any sense. And sometimes they don't have an opportunity to get back to you and say those things because they're being overwhelmed with applications or whatever. I'm not trying to make excuses for them, but these are some of the things that I see behind the scenes as a professional recruiter. So if you are looking at a position and it's due to an operational necessity right now, you may not know that, but know that typically an employer is looking for somebody within about a 90-day window. So what that means essentially is they are hoping and planning to have somebody on board and seeing patients within about a 90-day or 3-month time frame. So if you're 6 months from graduation, obviously you're immediately going to be removed from application. You're not going to meet the time frames that they need. Now, that doesn't mean that you should wait until you're 90 days from graduation to start looking. You can start looking anytime you want, but know that an employer may not take you seriously or may not be able to consider you at all due to their own internal timeframes. Now, I want to say this because here's the truth. And I see this oftentimes for students that don't have a heavy nursing background or heavy healthcare experience. Possibly they've just gone right through a fast track program or have done the bare minimum as far as qualifications. You need to respect your own process as you're going through your clinical rotations and practicum. And even if you're specializing as an acute care nurse practitioner, a women's health nurse practitioner, something where you know you're going to focus in a certain practice environment or area of medicine, you may find that your own desires and wants change throughout your educational piece. And 2 months into your program, you might think, wow, I really want to do outpatient primary care within an urban setting. But by the end of your practicum and at the time of graduation, you've made a change and you've decided that, wow, now I want something in this new area. And it's not at all what I thought or originally imagined myself doing. And so naturally, you're going to have to change your own job search to meet that expectation and change for your own need. So don't put too much pressure on yourself to find a position early on. And certainly, again, like most things in life, you will change. What you want to do will change too. And I want to cap that with saying this too, because having placed somewhere north of 300 or 400 new graduates and students in my career, I find that often there's a lot of pressure to immediately upon graduation find that hallowed position, that dream job, if you will, the one that we all hope for and envision and want to obtain, because that's why you went to school, to obtain this advanced practice degree. But the reality is dream jobs are very few and far between, and you need to be realistic with yourself and find something that meets your core criteria. Again, the employment market is riddled with a variety of positions. Some of those are going to be good for you. Some of those are going to be bad for you. Some of those are going to be very average or run of the mill, and that's okay. And what I tell a lot of the candidates that I work with is this. Again, don't focus exclusively on your dream job. Try to open up the market a little bit and focus on positions that will, one, foster your education and training as a new graduate or student. 2, provide a healthy environment that's going to support and nurture your continued growth. And 3, at the very least, makes you happy. You want to come out of school and work in a position that you're going to be pleased with. And you want to make sure that you can commit to that employer for a minimum of 2 years. Otherwise, your next employer is going to immediately look at you as a short-term flight risk because you can only do 6 months out of school in the dermatology role that you chose. So my advice for new graduates and students is this. It's okay to start looking for a position several months, even 6 months before you graduate, but you must appreciate that the employer you want may not be able to wait for you. So don't get nervous if it's a month from graduation, if you don't have a position. I promise the jobs are out there, but you may have to be flexible in where you're willing to go, in what you're willing to do. But I would reference the criteria that I mentioned just moments ago. Just find a healthy environment. You will eventually change jobs, and don't feel like you have to find that perfect job right now, that you have to commit for 10 years. That's not realistic. And again, I think is going to put undue pressure and strain on you. So back to the perception of employers are not friendly to new graduates or don't like students or new graduates. First of all, that is absolutely not true. The reality is, and you know this by talking to your colleagues, new graduates and students are hired every single day of the week. And I think, again, as I referenced at the beginning of this call, that essentially what you're experiencing is a lot of competition in the market and possibly you butting up against timeframes that don't meet the operational necessity of an employer. So I want to wrap up by saying this: it's never a bad thing to start, looking in advance of graduation, board certs, licensure, etc. But know that the employer, as much as they want you or love you, possibly just cannot wait for you to start. So again, I thank you for your attention in this matter. I apologize to all the nurse practitioners that feel like the market may not be friendly. I assure you, it's probably a one-off situation. Would love to hear from you. I'm planning on producing more of these videos to help other executives and other providers through their own job search. And if you have any comments, questions, or concerns, feel free to drop a message or a comment. Other than that, I wish you all the best. Thank you. Take care.